So I decided to look at sunlight because obviously, if you're not going outside, you're not getting sunlight. And the main thing you get from sunlight is vitamin D. So, there's actually two types of vitamin D. They're both hard to pronounce. So, there's one called ergocalciferol and cholecalciferol.
Do you want to paste these in the chat and we can try and pronounce them better?
Yeah, I want to try this.
Sure, hold on.
Please do this.
They both have the same ending to the word.
Oh yeah. Ergocalciferol.
Yeah, ergocalciferol, yeah.
Do you okay?
And cholecalciferol.
Yeah, cholecalciferol. It's
Yeah,
easy.
Come on.
Damn.
I don't know why you're struggling so much, Chris. This is the easy words.
I'm bad with words.
No, they're difficult. It's okay.
I'm going to use the easier version of these, which is vitamin D2 and vitamin D3.
Wait, hold on.
What happened to vitamin D1?
I don't know.
Is vitamin D2 why the mighty ducks are so mighty? Sorry, just ignore me.
I found it. Google told me. German researcher Adolf Windaus first discovered 3 forms of vitamin D, which he called D1, D2, and D3. It was later learned that the vitamin D1 was a mixture of compounds rather than a pure vitamin D product, so the term D1 is no longer used.
More you know.
So, anyway, pretty much the main way we get vitamin D is from sunlight. And the sun actually doesn't have vitamin D in it. What happens is that our skin has something called 7-dehydrocholesterol. So, like, when UVB light hits that, there's like a reaction that happens and that creates vitamin D3. And then sunlight has UVB light in it. So if we don't go outside, we don't get UVB light, which means no vitamin D. So my first question was just like, could you just like stand in a greenhouse and would that solve your problem? Would you get vitamin D? And the answer is no, because windows actually block most of the UV light in sunlight. So that's...
Oh, goddamn windows.
Yeah, I know. Ruining everything. So I found a stat saying that 40% of American adults right now are actually vitamin D deficient, just like in general right now, with their option to go outside.
Right.
Wow. Way to make fun of my vitamin D deficiency.
Yeah. So not great. And some of the symptoms of vitamin D deficiency are something called rickets, which is like a condition that impedes growth in children. You get bone issues, so like you get weak bones or like deformities. You get muscle weakness and also depression. So it's not like fatal, but it's not great.
Man, I hope my bones aren't brittle. I hate diseases that are like the symptom is like you get weak bones because you don't know you have weak bones.
Yeah, until you break them.
You can't feel that your bones are like one step away from just being like.
Right. So I wanted to figure out like how much vitamin D do we actually need. There's an article from Creighton University Medical Center which recommends 100 micrograms per day of vitamin D. So I started looking at alternative ways to get vitamin D. Obviously, there's other ways than just the sunlight. So right now, a lot of our foods are actually fortified with vitamin D. So like it's added later in the process of just making the food. So like examples of this are milk and cereal have fortified vitamin D in them. But there are very few foods that actually naturally have vitamin D in them. But there are some. So the first thing I looked at was fish. Fish actually have a small amount of vitamin D. But the main fish product that has like a very decent amount is cod liver oil.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Gross.
So 1 teaspoon of cod liver oil has 11 micrograms of vitamin D in it. So you could, as a solution, just sip down 9 teaspoons of cod liver oil per day.
That's not a solution. That's not a solution, Chris.
It's very gross. It's very gross, I admit. And you are right. It's not a solution because of the cod population. So cod population has kind of been not in the greatest condition. In 1992, there was actually a collapse in cod fisheries. They found that the biomass of northern cod, which are found around like Newfoundland, their population dropped to 1% of what previous levels were due to overfishing. There's just like a huge drop in cod. And as a result of this, like when they found this out, they actually put a ban on the fishing of northern cod. And this caused like a ton of fisheries to shut down. A lot of people lost their jobs. So politicians actually use this as like leverage for elections and stuff. So there's one guy, I forget who it was. I didn't write down their name, but they lifted the ban on cod during an election just to gain like popularity. And then it was later found out that like he had done so too early. The population had not yet recovered from its drop yet.
Oh.
So not good for the cod.
Shame on him.
Yeah.
Shame on him. He didn't really care about cod fisheries. Also, but I mean, that's gotta suck. Can you imagine, like, being in business, like... Well, I guess, Chris, you work with, like, bridge inspections, where it's just like, okay, we're no longer inspecting bridges. And it's like, there's nothing that you did wrong, but literally your job no longer exists because it's illegal.
Right.
Like, I was gonna fish cod. My job is to fish cod. That's what I do. That's a simple, nice life. That is a good life. And they're just like, nah.
Nope. No longer a profession.
You all as a whole were too good at fishing cod out of the ocean. Now there's none left. So
Yeah.
you've
You're
done
too
and
good at
done
your
it. You
job.
fished them all out.
Yeah. So there was actually like a failure to accurately assess the population of cod. So in 1998, the Committee on the Status of Endangered Wildlife in Canada, or COSWIC for short, they classified cod as vulnerable, like in the endangered scale thing.
Mm-hmm.
Vulnerable, it's not quite as bad as endangered. But in 2000, the Worldwide Fund for Nature, or the WWF, classified it as, and they're like, you're wrong, it's endangered.
Speaking of the WWF, can we briefly talk about the fact that the WWE had to change their name away from WWF because they lost the fight to the World Wildlife Federation or Foundation? Whatever it is.
Wait, really?
Yes. Because it used to be the World Wrestling Federation.
WWF.
Yeah. And then the current WWF sued and won, and it is now World Wrestling Entertainment.
That's awesome.
It's so good. It's one of my favorite random facts.
Don't fuck with animal activists.
Suck it, John Cena.
Anyway.
Don't anyway Ben's fun fact away like that. That's awesome.
Anyway. So like by 2003, actually all of the Atlantic Canadian cod fisheries had shut down. There were none left. And in 2010, Greenpeace actually put cod on their red list, which is like a list of things they recommend you don't buy. They say that if you buy cod, it's probably sourced from an unsustainable fishery. So since then, cod has sort of recovered a little bit, but as recently as 2018, the federal government reduced the cod quota, and they said that cod stocks had fallen yet again. So obviously cod is not a sustainable source of vitamin D. So I looked at other fish. I started looking at other fish, and salmon was the next highest on the list. So a salmon has 0.13 micrograms of vitamin D per gram. So the average American eats about 16 pounds of fish per year, not even just salmon, but like fish in general per year. But in order to get the amount of vitamin D we need from salmon, we need to eat 620 pounds of salmon per year, an over 3,000% increase in consumption. So just like any kind of fish that we're going to try to eat to get vitamin D is going to cause an overfishing problem. It's not going to be an option. So next I looked at mushrooms, because mushrooms have vitamin D in them too. So like mushrooms in their raw form have like a small amount of vitamin D, but then if you actually expose them to UV light, they react to the UV light and they create more vitamin D. It's vitamin D2, not vitamin D3. So like the common button mushroom, which was high on the list of mushrooms I had, a button mushroom has 0.32 micrograms per gram of mushrooms. So the average American eats about 4 pounds of mushrooms per year, and we need to consume 251 pounds of mushrooms per year to get our vitamin D. So that's a 6,000 plus increase in consumption. Does not sound great for us.
No. I also like
a pound of
so much.
mushrooms a day is a lot.
It is a lot, but if you need to, I mean, you want to get your vitamin D, so if that's your only option.
I'll just stay vitamin D deficient, thank you very much. I like mushrooms, but I don't like mushrooms that much.
Well, I wanted to see because obviously we had that overfishing problem. I wanted to see if this mushroom thing could be sustainable. So edible mushroom production is actually increasing right now. So it's expected to expand at a compounding annual growth rate of 7.9% between now and 2026. which is actually pretty high. It's growing pretty fast. That means that by 2026, it will have increased by 67%. So nowhere close to 6,000%, obviously. So mushrooms are not an option. But I was like, why are we scrounging for food with vitamin D when there are vitamin D supplements? Like, that's what astronauts do. So astronauts, they're in space, they're shielded from the sunlight, they don't get any sunlight at all. And to solve this, they take vitamin D supplements. So like, that's an easy solution. But then I had to look into how do they make vitamin D supplements, because they're not just like, they don't magically appear. We need to make them from something. And what most of them are made from actually is something called lanolin. So lanolin is a wax that's excreted from wool-bearing animals, primarily sheep. So they like harvest it from sheep wool.
Oh, I'm like, excreted from where?
It's like excreted from, I guess, the pores in the skin of the sheep, and it coats the wool. So like when they shear a sheep, they can clean out the wool, and they harvest the lanolin from the wool. And then the process they do to get like the vitamin D from the lanolin is they're able to extract the 7-dehydrocholesterol, which is the same thing that we have in our skin, from the lanolin, and they irradiate that with UV light, and that creates D3, vitamin D3. So I was like, how much vitamin D3 can we get from one sheep? So typically you shear a sheep once per year, and they can get about 150 grams of lanolin per year from that sheep. So going through the whole process of extraction and all that, there are some assumptions I had to make, but in general, you'd get around 13,500 milligrams of D3 per year from one sheep, which is a lot, actually, compared to like how much we actually need.
Yeah, what was the number for how much we need? Like 100?
Well, it's 100 micrograms per day per person.
Oh, gotcha.
And this is per year in milligrams. So I was like, okay, that's a lot. How many sheep do we have in the world compared to the amount of people in the world? So world population right now is 7.7 billion people, and the sheep population is 1 billion people. So one sheep has to support 7.7 people. So yeah, one person needs 100 micrograms per day, which means that 7.7 people needs 281,000 micrograms per year. So the sheep actually provides way more than that.
Oh, good on you, sheep.
Yeah, we have a really big surplus of vitamin D, which is good. But I was like, we have all the surplus. How long does vitamin D actually last? Does it go bad if we just like let it sit around? So the FDA actually doesn't require an expiration date on vitamin D supplements. And the reason for that is because vitamin D actually doesn't become unsafe to consume if you just leave it out. What happens is that it loses its potency. So if you just let it sit for a really long time and then you take a pill, you're not gonna get as much vitamin D as if you take it right away.
So it's like from vitamin D to vitamin decent.
It gets lowercase, you know.
Yeah, lowercase d.
Lowercase d.
Vitamin D.
So I wanted to try to figure out how fast it loses its potency. I found it very hard to find this number, like this rate of lost potency. What I did find was that even though the FDA doesn't require an expiration date, some companies do choose to put an expiration date. And the typical expiration date is around 2 years. So that's pretty much what I used from a basis of how long the vitamin D will last. So even though you have a really big surplus of vitamin D, it's only going to last 2 years. So every 2 years, we'll just need to make new supplements. It's not a huge deal. So for every 7.7 people, we need one sheep. And I think that in reality, this would just happen on an industrial level. I think that would be way more efficient than what I have in mind.
What do you mean?
What I have in mind is that every family will just have their own family sheep. And they'll have their own UV lamp. They'll just do this process themselves. I don't know how hard the process is, but they can learn. And every household will have a sheep.
And a chemical processing laboratory to turn the wax into vitamin D supplements.
You can learn. It's a learning process. So, yeah, what if no one could go outside? Every family would have a sheep. That was a clip from Absurd Hypotheticals, the podcast where we answer dumb hypothetical questions. For the full episode, click on the link in the description.